I love boxing. What's up, y'all? Now, welcome to another edition of This Day in Boxing History. I only chose a few things to talk about out of boxing history that happened today on this go-round. So I'm going to strive to execute them in a timely manner. Hope y'all enjoy. Here we go. January 27th in 1943, Manuel Ortiz KOs George Freitas, or maybe Jorge Freitas, in Oakland, and he retained his world bantamweight title. All right. Now, this was the second defense that Ortiz had made in only 4 weeks, 26 days to be exact. All right. Now, Manuel Ortiz is one of the many greats in boxing history to debut his professional career, his first professional bout, with a loss. And that was back in 1938. And of course, we know he bounced back and he had a great career. Manuel Ortiz is from Corona, California, and he fought out of El Centro, California. His record stands as 100 wins, 28 losses, and 3 draws. 54 out of his 100 wins came by knockout. Now, some sources say he had 99 wins with 53 KOs. So I'm guessing that one bout was a no contest. Maybe he knocked somebody out illegally, or maybe a judge or somebody there went in his favor. Maybe a promoter had more power. They didn't want to count the bout, or you just never know when it comes to researching these older articles and things like that. He died kind of young. He lived from 1916 to 1970, and he passed at the age of 53. Now, on his resume, you have a cat named Lou Salica, who was 58, 14, and 12. And he had the world bantam title, and he lost it to Ortiz. You see, there's other few notables on Ortiz's resume. Pablo Dano, he's 99, 35, and 31. Small Montana, he's 75, 12, and 9. By the way, both those cats handed Ortiz an L. Willie Pep is also on Ortiz's resume, so he has a pretty decent resume. Now, the fighters of old, y'all, you'll look them up, you'll research them, you'll notice that they'll have these records such as, 90 and 25 or 77 and 17. Just a tremendous amount of fights, a lot of wins, but also with a good bit of losses as well. Well, this is because they fought everybody, and they also fought many times a year. This kept them ready. This gave them steady checks, and it also made it very difficult for them to be undefeated. And on the flip, it also made them improve greatly. Daggone. It also made them improve greatly, while it also left a larger room for error. That's why those 90 and 89 or whatever win streaks by cats such as Sugar Ray Robinson and Chavez are put in such high regard. All right, Ortiz, like many other older fighters, y'all, served in the U.S. Army. Now, I don't know if this was required, or these mofos just needed extra hustle money, or if it was propaganda, or if cats back then was just really that patriotic. Oh well, y'all be the judge on that. Now, most of Ortiz's career, he fought at bantamweight, and at the end of his career, he fought mostly at featherweight, and he jumped outside and fought a few times at lightweight. Some on the books, some aren't. He even once won the Oriental featherweight title, the title of the Orient featherweight. He won it in the Philippines, and then he lost it 3 months later to the same dude, Del Rosario. By the way, that man was Filipino. And one thing I noticed in looking up some of Manuel Ortiz's fights, a handful of his fights only had one judge and one referee scoring the fight. That meant it wasn't 3 judges and, a press row and a referee. It was just one judge, just one. One judge scored the bout, and then the referee scored the bout, and that decided the winner. I don't know if that was for better or for worse, or maybe they couldn't pay people, or people wasn't paid off enough, or I don't know why. And the dude that he knocked out on this day in history, January 27th, was George Freitas, or I think he's Mexican. I couldn't find his nationality. Y'all correct me if he's wrong. But for here, I'll just say Jorge Freitas. Looking at his picture, he kind of reminds me of Canelo Alvarez a little bit. But he fought at the bantam featherweight weight class. He didn't have a long career. He was 19, 13, and 6. Now, he fought out of Santa Clara, Cali. He's not really a notable on the resume. Well, I guess he is because he did fight for a title. But, you know, like Zone 6 was saying, I guess we got to come up with something, how we rate boxers' goodness or greatness. But from my opinion, I'm just going to speak on this shortly. If you consistently muddle the line as a fighter and you got a mediocre record, then to me, you're mediocre. If you consistently have skill in your fights, then you're a skilled fighter. If you consistently win, then you're a winner. But what makes you great, in my opinion, is up to what the fighter does, up to what the fans, the press, and history itself says about the fighter. But Freitas nonetheless did fight for a title, and Manuel Ortiz, of course, had the title longer than Freitas ever could have dreamed about getting close to it after his challenge, and he didn't win. Ortiz has an interesting statistic about him. He was in either 20 or 21 world title fights, and he only lost 2 of them. So he had the belt a while. All right. Now, next on this beautiful day of January 27th, in boxing history, we love boxing, Archie, the old mongoose Moore, defeats Joey Maxim and retains the world light heavyweight title in Miami, Florida. All right, this happened in 1954. This is their third and final bout. All right, y'all, in this fight in January 27th. This was their third bout, and it was the last time they fought one another. And in this one, the old mongoose knocked Maxim down twice in this one, in the 8th and 11th rounds. In the previous 2, there were no knockdowns. He fought Maxim 3 times, and he won all 3 bouts by decision. The old mongoose has the record, y'all, for most KOs in boxing history with 131, and he still holds that record, of course, to this day. He held the light heavyweight title for 10 years. That's amazing. That's the longest for any light heavyweight champion in history. He held it from the winter of 52 until the summer of 62. Great day. Them brothers from the old school, they love using that conch, bro. That concha lean in their hair. Here's a funny note, though. I was looking on Moore's record, and there's a dude on there named Ralph K.O. Hooker. I said, oh, shoot. Dude sounds serious. So I looked him up, and his record was 18 and 23. And out of his 18 wins, 13 were by KO. And out of his 23 losses, 18 were by KO. So more than likely, if he won, he was going to be knocking a mother flusher out. And if he lost, he most likely was going to get knocked the hell out. No, that's not to take away from Archie Moore's greatness. It's just a funny note I saw. You know, there's a lot of people on there with good records, bad records, terrible records, great records. He just caught my eye. Seemed like a character from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Ralph K.O. Hooker. All right, Archie Moore also had the longest pro career than any other fighter, 27 years pro. All right, and after that, he was at one time an advisor and a cornerman to George Foreman. He also coached on an Olympic team. It wasn't an American Olympic team. It was one of the countries in Africa. He coached one of the Olympic teams in one of the Olympiads. He passed away in 1998 in San Diego. And to this day, they're not sure if he passed at 81 years old or 84 years old. Now, the Ring magazine, his mammy, his mother, said he was born in 1913, but he says he was born in 1916. That's why it's so difficult to look up these older records, because people have different accounts and stuff get lost or erased. But you just never know. When they asked him about his age and stuff, why he wasn't so sure on it, he said, well, hell, maybe I was born at 3 years old. So you just never know. When he passed away, y'all, he had a wife for 42 years and left behind 7 children. And to me, from the few videos I've seen him up in his age, he seemed to have lived well or prosperously after boxing. Now, I don't know for sure. I didn't look into it, but he didn't look sick or desolate or broke or angry or busted up. So I'm just going to assume that he lived well after boxing. Now, the old mongoose, that's his nickname. Why they call him that? My only guess is that, the mongoose is a slick type of creature. They eat snakes, and they're similar to ferrets, like Ricky Tikki Tikki or Ricky Tikki Tacky, whatever the hell that animal's name was. And in a few of his pics and a few of his fight clips that I've seen, his shell technique was very unique. He turned his shoulders well. He knew how to move his elbows. He had an awesome shell. And I'm telling y'all that Mayweather, Whitaker, and other boxers alike studied these old dudes. They studied these dudes with these slippery styles to help perfect or even to help create their own style. Mike Tyson and B-Hop are some of the few fighters that I've heard even admit to studying men like Archie Moore. Anywho, when asked what was the secret to his success, Archie Moore replied, quote, "Always exercise the mind and never keep track of time," end quote. I might have to start using that my daggum self. All right. Now, the guy that he beat is also another great in history. We're going to go into him a little bit. Y'all pardon me if I mess up his name. Giuseppe Antonio Berardinelli, a.k.a. we know him as boxing fans as Joey Maxim. Now, during this time in history, a lot of immigrants were coming over from other countries, and they were still treated as second-class citizens. So a lot of them, if y'all can remember that scene from that movie, The Untouchables, when Sean Connery walked up on Andy Garcia and he gave him his name, and then Connery made some type of flagrant, some type of racial joke, and then it comes to find out he was using a fake name. Well, Italians and Irish, during that time were using maybe pseudonames or stage names to hide their, the truth of their ethnicity. And maybe that was just a stage name, or maybe he was trying to go further in the business world. I don't know. It's just speculation. All right, but Maxim was 82, 29, and 4 with 21 KOs. Also, another note is that Maxim is a name that comes from the Maxim action machine gun of that time. And they attribute that to Joey Maxim's ability to throw a lot of left jabs at one time. Like many other greats, Joey Maxim, Mr. Berardinelli, had a stacked resume. He fought Bobo Olsen, Sugar Ray Robinson, Archie Moore, Floyd Patterson, Jersey Joe, Ezra Charles, Jimmy Bivens, Lloyd Marshall. He fought everybody who was good and great of his era. Again, he also served in the military. He served in the military during World War II, and then he left the box to pursue boxing. He was born in 1922 and he passed away in 2001. That joker lived 79 years old, a long, ripe life. Now, he was survived by 2 daughters, 6 grandkids, and get this, his mother, Henrietta Berardinelli, she passed away in 2006 after him, 2006 at 101 years old. So them Maxims or them Berardinellis, they must have had some super olive oil or some off-the-chain, healthy lifestyle and eating. Next great thing that happened in boxing history today, January 27th, 1980. Yoko Gushikin defeats Young Hyun Kim in Osaka, Japan, and he retains the junior flight. Here we go with this junior super miniature. I'll just say the flyweight title, but they have it here as the junior flyweight title. All right? Yoko Gushikin. He was also called Kanmuri Washi, which means fierce eagle. His record was 23-1. 15 of his wins coming by big knockout. Now, from my counting, y'all, he had 15 world title bouts. So either might have been 16 and only one loss, just one loss. But like Nassim, my Prince, Nassim Ahmed, and other good boxers, emphasis on the good, other good boxers, after their first loss, he retired. They retired. After Yoko Gushikin's first loss, he retired. And he got his only loss, which was a KO loss. His only loss was a KO loss to Pedro Flores, and he retired. And this is why there's so much spoken of how a fighter comes back after a KO loss, a KO defeat. Man, a KO, that shit ends careers, man. It crushes egos. It devours souls. So, look at that. Yoko, he got a serious fro, don't he? Full and smooth. But yeah, but it's serious to come out from a KO and to be able to perform well, because after a KO, man, it takes a lot of soul searching and going back and redrawing and extra training to overcome that mentally, physically, spiritually. Now, the man he defeated on this day in history in 1980 to retain his title is Kim Jong-hyun. Or since we're in America, I'll say it how most Americans say it, and that's Jong-hyun Kim. He's from South Korea, y'all. Hanguk. Shout out to South Korea. I spent some time over there. Annyeonghaseyo, Saranghae Hanguk. Now, pardon the pictures, though. I only have 2 or 3 of Kim, and his back was always turned, or he was always in a fighting stance. You couldn't see his face, or the picture was just blurry. I suppose, he wasn't popular enough over here to have a decent pick on these websites. But all right, Kim was 28-4 with 5 KOs, and all of his fights were in South Korea or Japan. Shout outs to Nippon, y'all. Konnichiwa. All of his fights were in South Korea or Japan, so he didn't get much exposure. And like many featherweights and bantamweights from South Korea and Japan, I don't know if it's the management or if they don't beat certain people or if they don't win certain qualifying tournaments, but they don't seem to get a lot of exposure outside of their country. And I know there's, a lot of politics in that, housing belts and, the same thing with Gushukin. I mean, I think all of his fights were in Japan or South Korea, over in Southeast and Northeast Asia as well too. But you got to double check me on that. Now with Kim's resume, he has maybe 2 or 3 names at most that are good or decent on his resume. Same with Gushukin, but he's going to be remembered more because he has more title defenses, better record, more KOs. Now, the original 8 weight classes, I just got to bring this up right quick. They're still here and they haven't went anywhere. But they've been added to, they've been watered down, and they've been taken away from because now there's 16, 17, 18, just 2 daggum mini weight classes. And I absolutely would love it if they brought it back to the original 8. Now, all these extra weight classes, that to me, that just paved the way for more obstacles, more BS, more belts, more people wanting their palms greased or licked or whatever. And to me, it created a more worse situation than a better one in boxing. Now I know there's a few perks like expansion of I guess boxing as a whole maybe, and possibly more title fights, but I do not believe it was for the overall betterment of the sweet science as a whole. To me, shit, it created a whole gamut of problems. 8 weight classes forces fighters, judges, and a whole lot of other factors in boxing to be primo, to be sharp. It leaves more integrity and honesty in the sport. I mean, well, right now I'm just rambling. Maybe later on I should do a video and way more research on why we should have original 8 weight classes. Another great thing that happened in history today, January 27th, 1989. Graciano Roshigiani, y'all pardon me if I pronounced it wrong, defeats Tulani Malinga in Berlin, and he retains the IBF super middleweight title. Look at that, yo. Look at Roshigiani. Good old tough classic Leatherface. No, Roshigiani, he had the German title, he had the European title, and right after that, after he retained his title, he vacated it to go up to light heavyweight. Then after he did that, he won the EBU, which is the European title. But then 9 fights later, he goes back down to super middleweight to fight for a title and lost to your boy, Chris Eubank. He fought maybe 1 or 2 more fights at super middleweight. Then he fought the rest of his career at light heavyweight. Now his final career record was 41 wins, 6 losses, and 1 draw, 19 wins coming by big KO. Look, there he is, y'all, with the late great trainer, teacher, instructor, motivator, Emmanuel Stewart. Man, I didn't see that, but Stewart, he must have Stewart probably had a lot to do with his success, like he has with many other great fighters in history. And Stewart, now that I'm thinking about it, he must have been over in UK and Eastern Europe getting it in. He's in all these pictures, and people like Klitschko give him props. But back to Graziano Roscigiani. All right, Roscigiani, he was born in Germany in 1963. Now, his name doesn't really reflect Germany. It sounds and looks strongly Italian. And maybe that's because, Germany and Italy is maybe close to one another. Shout outs to Deutschland, shout outs to Italia. But it says he's German, but the name's Italian. But, that's not my business. All right. He's still alive, and his name is Rocky, yo. His nickname is Rocky. Again, going back into history, he obviously gets his name. He obviously gets his moniker from the late Rocky Graziano, who was a bruiser of his day back in the 50s and 60s. Rocky Graziano fought the likes of greats like Sugar Ray Robinson and Tony Zell, and he had a pretty good KO percentage. So, like how your boy Deontay Wilder gets bronze bomber from brown bomber, Graziano Roscigiani gets Rocky from most likely Rocky Graziano. All right. More on Roscigiani right quick. On his resume, he fought Chris Eubank. Chris Eubank is a notable guy. Michael Nunn. He lost his middleweight title, and then 4 years later, he came back to win one of those little light heavyweight titles. He did win the WBC. That's kind of world renownedly recognized. And he and Michael Nunn, they fought for a vacant title, and he beat Michael Nunn by split decision. See now, but this the shit here I'm talking about. He won the WBC world title, but then, after he either lost it or vacated it, I gotta go back and look, he fought for the WBC international title. Okay, now which one is the damn title? The WBC world title, and they show it as distinctly different, or the WBC international title? What's the damn difference? Which one is the real daggum belt? To my recollection, international and world and the word world are synonymous, right? International means between nations, global, right? And world means the same thing. Am I wrong? I mean, I'm not sure. Y'all double check that. But in closing about Roscigiani, he had a lawsuit against the WBC about him losing his title and him being able to fight for the title. I wouldn't say he won, but WBC settled out of court with him and gave him lump sum of a few million, maybe in the double-digit million, and they settled. Now, the cat that he beat on this day of January 27th in 1989 is Tulani Malinga, and he's from Ladysmith, KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. So I'm guessing he's from the Zulu nation of South Africa. Maybe he's a Zulu. His record stands as 44 wins, 13 losses, and no draws. Look right there. He kind of got that Michael Jackson Thriller look right there. But he's real big and he's real popular in South Africa, especially amongst the Zulu nation. He's sort of a national figure. He was commemorated and everything. So I guess maybe since Shaka Zulu, maybe he was the first big Zulu to do something big. I'm not sure. All right. Now, on Malinga's record, he won the WBC at super middleweight, and I think he fought for the title 2 or 3 times. But in one of those victories, he had a split decision win over the destroyer, Nigel Benn. And on his resume, if y'all can remember, he, not to pick on Tulani Malinga, but he's on Roy Jones Jr. Highlight clips of getting sloshed and popped and head whooped all over the ring. But yeah, Roy Jones Jr. is on his resume, and also is Chris Eubank, who fought a lot of good fighters. Then after I looked at Malinga more, I saw a few alphabet titles he won, like the WBF. I've never even heard of that before. I think it's World Boxing Federation. And then he fought for titles I never even heard of, such as the IBA, the IBO. And I'm sure these alphabet belts have prominence somewhere and in certain parts of the world. But again, that's the problem. We need a universally recognized title like how it used to be. Y'all know how the Golden Gloves tournament or the Olympiad works for boxing, and where you have one daggum champ. You know, I know for you know, the Golden Gloves in the Olympics, you know, you win your district, you win your county, you win your country, and then you battle other countries to see who the world champion is. You know? And then after that, you know, you fight top contenders. And well, I'm just speaking hypothetically now. It should be like that, where you fight the best in your region, blah blah blah. Then we have a tournament, like how we used to have a tournament. Blood talks about this a lot, and Beats. You have a tournament, then those top 16 fighters, then that's the champion. You know, people from all over the world, like the Olympiad. And then after that, you have to fight top contenders from other countries, or top ranked contenders in your weight class from different areas. But then nowadays you have 4 different weight classes within one weight class. You got super, junior, miniature, jumbo, you know what I'm saying, light, all within one weight class, within one weight. And then all of them have 4 or 5 belts, and then they all have 4 or 5 drug testing agencies. And you see how the line gets muddled, and there's just room for all this silly shit and all this extra shit that we don't need. Anyway, it just makes things difficult, and you see how it leads to deception, trickery, undercutting, overbidding. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and knock it home with the end of this day in boxing history, January 27th, with a happy birthday shout out, y'all, to Willie Taylor. Will Taylor. I might not know him, but the notables on his resume are Ray Berry, who was one of them alphabet belt light heavyweight champs, Ernest Mateen, David Talisco, and of course we all know one of the light heavyweight champs that's on his resume that he fought was Reggie Johnson. Okay, Willie Taylor fought out of PA, you know what I'm saying, Philadelphia Boxing School, shout out. And he was also born in PA. So big shout outs to Willie Stretch Taylor. He also passed away early, y'all. So rest in peace to him. His record stood at 19-4. And 12 of those wins he had by KO. 19-4, and 12 of those wins he had by KO. Again, we're gonna end it out with happy birthday to you, Mr. Taylor. Rest in peace to you, your family. Love, peace, and prosperity. And to all the other boxers I mentioned here or ever mentioned, peace to y'all families if y'all alive or if you passed away. That's gonna end it out for today, y'all. We love boxing. Tune in again. Catch y'all on the flip. Peace.